Welcome to the College Football Bros, the podcast that will still be around in 5 years. And now, here are your hosts, Michael, Ryan, and Trey Newman.
Welcome to the College Football Bros podcast. I am Michael Newman, and I'm joined by the brother who just celebrated his second wedding anniversary.
Yes, that's me, Ryan Newman.
Am I right on that?
About it. Well, you know, it's actually kind of the third.
Oh, my bad. Third. Okay, so I'm wrong. Time flies.
Yeah.
And I'm joined by the other brother who recently celebrated his first
Yeah,
anniversary.
hope you get that one.
Good guess. You got that one. That's me, Trey Newman.
All right. Well, on today's episode, we are going to predict the Power 5 head coaches that will still be at their current jobs 5 years from now. But first, we have some news to get to and a 5-star review.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
first 5-star review is from Ohio State Fan 101. Gives us 5 stars, like most of the talent they pull in. Buckeye for life. It says, Ohio State Buckeye for life. What do you guys think about CJ Stroud? CJ Stroud's their big quarterback commit. He's Rancho Cucamonga. I didn't even realize that he was from Rancho Cucamonga, but he was kind of reading up on him. He's got a sweet arm. He's kind of a late bloomer since he just started in high school as a junior finally, but he's pretty gifted, and I don't see why he won't succeed under Ryan Day.
Yeah. I don't have nothing to add.
They're going to
there.
kill it. He's going to kill it. I mean, he's a big time.
I'm sure he
big
will.
time player, dude. They have some good
All
athletes over there in Rancho Cucamonga, man. They really
Mhm.
do. Mostly hoops, though.
Well, thank you very much for that review. So let's now get to a rundown of each Power 5 conference as far as when are their plans to start the season and what is their schedule like. So Ryan, get us started with the ACC.
Okay. So ACC, they're looking to start the week of September 7th, so after the good old Labor Day. And their plan is to play 10 conference games, plus they'll have an additional one non-conference game, but it has to be played in their home state. So you're not allowed to leave your area, I guess, just to avoid getting on a plane and traveling. So, yeah.
And that was kind of awkward because they seemingly had that extra game because of the Georgia Tech rivalry, Florida State, and then what was it the next day that the SEC said they're just conference only?
Yeah. Oops.
So I guess those games aren't happening.
Clemson, South Carolina. Did we say that? You say that?
Yeah.
There you go. That too.
Yep. All right. The Big 12, they're going to play one non-conference game either at the end of August or in early September before they get into conference play. They haven't yet determined the exact start date of conference play, but the Big 12 in their press release mentioned it would be in mid to late September. And they're going to go to a 9+1 model. So I mentioned the one non-conference game, but then they're going to play a true round robin like they already do, the 9 conference games. I was reading that the goal is to have their big marquee game, Texas, Oklahoma, in October and still in the Cotton Bowl. Whether there'll be fans or not is one thing, but something to look forward to.
All right. The Big Ten, of course, was the first domino to drop here, which is already like a month ago that they made that announcement, which is pretty crazy. And they finally today announced their schedule. So they're going to be starting from September 3rd through the 5th, and they're going to play a 10-game conference-only schedule with 2 byes built in there, and then another open week at the end of the season before the conference championship on December 5th. And we'll get to these schedules, I'm sure, another time. But just one thing I noticed was that Ohio State and Penn State, the 2 favorites from the East, do not play Wisconsin and Minnesota, the 2 favorites from the West. So all 4 of those teams, pretty good roads.
It's BS, man. Every
Ryan,
year.
you're not happy about Nebraska's schedule?
Every year, just draw the short end of the straw, man.
Or
We
else
don't really
we'd be-
deserve to get the full straw. So, but still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just the schedule holding us back. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
next
right, how
one.
about Pac-12?
Yeah, Pac-12. They are also gonna do a 10-game conference only schedule. It's gonna start late though. They'll be the late ones to the party, starting September 26th. So California has some of those schools, like I think it's like UW and maybe a couple of maybe Cal. They start like that's when they start school really late, so late September. So kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, Pac-12. Yeah.
Yep. And then finally, the SEC, they announced they're just going to strictly conference only, 10 games set to begin on. They're also starting late September 26th. They haven't, as of the time we record this, they haven't released the actual slate of games, but it should be interesting. There'll be a couple more conference games that we'll get to see these SEC teams play. So it'd be even more competitive than years past. So that'll be fun to watch.
All right, and then just to add on here, UConn became the first FBS school to just completely cancel their season, which makes sense. They're independent, and life's tough right now for independents other than Notre Dame because they
were in
that
such a
ACC
tough spot
connection.
scheduling games. It seems like already, anyways, because they were in a conference last year, then now not in the conference. I mean, it had to be impossible for them.
Right. And, we'll get to the G5 when there's more clarity there because I think a lot of those conferences, it's still kind of unclear of the plan. And then Division II and Division III, the NCAA announced have canceled those fall sports championships. And I think a lot of the conferences, right, have already canceled their seasons. So
yes,
not looking good for them.
No.
Okay. Next piece of news, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten have released, some players in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten have released letters in the Players Tribune. So for the Pac-12, their hashtag We Are United is a group of players threatening to sit out the season if their demands are not met. And these demands include measures aimed at protecting the players' health in the wake of COVID-19, protecting smaller sports from being discontinued, ending racial injustice, and various economic demands, including increased medical expense coverage for sports-related injuries, name, image, and likeness rights. And then, of course, the big one, 50% of revenue to be allocated to the players. And then the Big Ten United letter came from over 1,000 Big Ten athletes, and their demands are primarily aimed at protections for players related to COVID-19. And so obviously there's a lot to unpack here, and we could talk about this for a long time, but what are your just kind of general thoughts about these two movements?
I mean, it's hard not to support the movements. I mean, it seems like for so long now that, these kids almost have been, I don't want to say taking advantage of, but like we get a lot of benefit, and there's a lot of people that gain a lot of benefit from the fact of them playing this game for us and us to watch, and the coaches make millions of dollars and the admin makes millions of dollars, and there's companies that sell shirts and things that make millions of dollars, yet the players don't make anything. I know they get the education, but it just seems like there needs to be a little bit more equity for them. They deserve to be treated a little bit better. So a lot of these things that they're asking for, I have no problem with. They deserve every opportunity to go for those things. Like, why not try? If I'm a player, I'm going to go for it. And now it's just an awakening of time. Like, it's with the health crisis that we're dealing with and with the social justice issues, I think we're just becoming more of a more aware of these types of problems that have been going on for so long.
Yeah, and when you look at it in a bubble like just this particular year, this is a perfect time. I understand why they're concerned about. They may basically think they're being used just for revenue and not worried about their health concerns, since we're kind of pushing them along to play when there's this, like you said, Ryan, this crisis going on around us. The demands for the 50% of money might be a stretch, but hey, it can't hurt to ask. What's the worst they're going to do? Like, they're going to say no. Like, and I mean, I do agree that even if that is a stretch, there needs to be some balance there, whether it's an actual dollar amount or something, some percentage cut that they get. And they do get the value, like you said, Ryan, they do get the value of school and scholarships, and that's a great benefit, but they should get a little bit more skin in the game. It's not up to me, though, to decide how much or how little. But the thing I'm more interested in with this movement, we saw how the Pac-12 started it. The Big Ten kind of made their own similar list of demands, maybe not as big of a reach, but I'm more interested to see how if this snowballs into the other conferences, and if players actually do hold out because of this. It'll be fascinating to see.
Yeah. I think both you guys make good points. I think these movements are a good thing because the players are obviously the largest stakeholders in college athletics, and yet they have very little voice in the system, and now they're trying to exercise it, and I think that's a good thing. I saw a lot of people on Twitter and on Reddit very angry with the demands from, in particular, the Pac-12 group, but honestly, I can't muster any anger at it. Like, if I'm going to be outraged, it's going to be with the people in power who have fought for decades to prevent players from having name, image, and likeness rights, who have drawn up policies like the restitution rule, the infamous restitution rule that has prevented athletes from getting their day in court. And just in general, the system seeming to place way more emphasis on, the schools and the NCAA shielding themselves from liability rather than taking care of the players. So that's just the way I look at it. And I'll also add that, I've got a few points to add to the people calling a lot of their demands ridiculous. The first is that you can think that about, X, Y, or Z of their demands, but you can still respect and address what you deem to be reasonable requests. Like, nothing is stopping you from doing that. And second of all, I've read quotes from multiple players. They get it. They understand that, like, this is the start of a conversation. This is a negotiation. They're not just going to give them 50% of revenue.
That one's a little like, and they know that's not going to happen. The NFL didn't even get that.
That's about what they get, isn't it? Yeah. And then
I think it's a little under.
A little under, yeah. So, and then the third thing is some of the requests that people have called unrealistic are not nearly as unrealistic as they're making it out to be. I'll just give one example. So the Pac-12 players want coverage for sports-related medical conditions that extend, or injuries, whatever.
Injuries, yeah.
That extend 6 years after they graduate. And Brady Quinn was one person I noted that was very angry about this. And so people just say, oh, that's crazy. Well, the Pac-12 just a few years ago, at least from what I've read, became the only conference to require schools to pay post-college medical costs for sports-related injuries for at least 4 years. So that's already in place for 4 years. I mean, 6, it's more. Maybe you're not in favor of that, but it doesn't seem crazy like I've seen some people point out. So yeah, and just the final point I'll have, I know I've been going on for a long time here, but
you're good.
Believe it or not, this is my reduced. I have like
sure.
Yeah, I have 2 pages of stuff here that I would like to say, but no one wants to hear it. So final point is that a lot of these requests seem unreasonable because the way the system is currently set up and the way the universities and athletic departments operate. But in the coming years, and probably more likely decades, it's hard not to think that there's going to be drastic changes, because it seems unsustainable to have a $1 billion industry that continues to grow where the labor isn't really partaking in very much of that upside at all. So
it's been stuck in the same boat for decades before college football really was college football. Like before it started making the billions of dollars, it was just kind of a, another sport. But yeah, it's stuck in the past. And
it's like 10, 15, even like 10, 15 years ago, people were obviously vehemently arguing against this name, image, and likeness. Oh, they're going to go out. What, a car dealership's going to, pay a guy $1 million to do XYZ. And you can see now, here we are in 2020, the name, image, and likeness, it's coming. Whether you like it or not, they're going to be allowed to do this. I mean, it
makes no sense why they wouldn't be allowed to do it.
I agree with you, but
I
understand a lot of people listening do not agree with us. So
yeah,
but that's the conversation. That's what these players are doing. They're starting the conversation. And so we can,
they're adults. They can, I mean, they should be allowed to work.
And I just saw that the Pac-12, Larry Scott and I think a couple athletic directors have set up a phone call with some of the leaders of the Pac-12 United movement. So that's exactly what they're looking for. They're looking to, like I said, start a conversation and try and get some things done. So
yeah,
I think that's good. All right. moving on. Next bit of news: 2 potential first-round picks, Caleb Farley, a cornerback for Virginia Tech, and Rashad Bateman, a receiver from Minnesota, have announced that they're going to be sitting out this season. It's also been rumored, I don't think it's official, that Micah Parsons, the linebacker for Penn State, might do the same.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think we're going to see a lot more players sitting out?
I think so. I think it's trending. I think it is. It's trending that way, especially as more and more time goes on as we get closer to the season. And especially if there's like another delay to the start of the season, I think the unknown factor is the players are just going to kind of weigh, the risk versus reward, especially for those guys that are slated to be probably first rounders. Some of the guys that won't get drafted, you might not see it as much, but I'm guessing the guys that in the first couple rounds, they're really going to think twice about this, not having it be a normal circumstance of a season. They might think twice.
Yeah, and I definitely think it'll be more than just these couple and few that might happen. It's going to be, I think it'll be a little more, and it'll be guys that are not even for draft picks. It'll just be guys that just don't want to play in this circumstance. They just feel like it's the wrong decision. So, and I have no problem with it whatsoever. I mean, if they got to make the right choice for them. So if I'm a fan or whatever, and one of the players on my team says I'm not going to do it, I hope people just leave the kid alone and say, hey, we understand. And that's that, like, who knows? Maybe these kids have underlying health issues that prevent them, or maybe they're more high risk. We don't know. It's not like they're going to disclose their health information. And honestly, can't judge.
And honestly, I wouldn't even judge a player, even if this was a normal season. If Trevor Lawrence said, hey, you know what? I'm going to be the number 1 or number 2 pick next year. I'm just sitting out because I don't want to get hurt or whatever. Even then, I wouldn't blame.
It's the rest of your life you're risking, I guess, if you're him, by playing. Like, if you get a catastrophic injury.
It's amazing. Like, think about it, like, what, about 5 years ago is really when the trend started of players sitting out of bowl games. Yeah. Give or take, whatever.
Somewhere around there,
and before that, though, that was kind of unheard of. And then now this is happening, and it's like, it's pretty commonplace. Now, you would think the next step is to have what, Michael, you just said, like maybe those top few guys really think about their junior or senior year. But that's a question down the road.
That's part of the reason why of treating the players better, making sure that they're getting at least more share of the pie or whatever it is, so that because like right now, what's the benefit for Trevor Lawrence types of guys? Like they're not paying me at anything. I'm not benefiting at all by playing, really. I mean, I guess notoriety, but I've already won a national championship. I'm going to be a top 3 pick. So it's like, what's convincing me to play? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe that would be.
And if he wants to play just because he wants to play, then more power.
Yeah.
Exactly. But sorry, Clemson fans, we're just using him as an example.
Jalen Hurts.
It's a good thing.
Sure. Okay. Well, actually, one last piece of news is that Phil Jurkovec, the sophomore quarterback who transferred from Notre Dame to Boston College, has been ruled immediately eligible. So how big of a deal is this for Boston College?
For Boston College, it's huge. Like, I don't know how much of a game changer he is, but he's an upgrade at quarterback for them, considering that they lost Anthony Brown to Oregon. Like, this is a big thing. And then I think they get him for 3 years too. That's big. So even if they can kind of work him in under Hafley's system for his first year, and then he'll have the reins for the next couple of years, assuming he pans out.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. Whenever you can add a big time recruit that when he was coming out of high school and a lot of potential, and just going to add a lot of depth. So, I don't know if he'll start. It'll be probably a close battle.
I would think he will. I
think maybe he will just take over the reins.
It's like Boston. He doesn't have a ton around him, but he looks. We'll see.
Yeah.
He's got way more potential than what Grossell is slated to be the starter, I guess.
For sure. It's just a matter of getting the system down in time, I guess.
Right. Yep. Okay. Well, let's get into the main exercise of the episode. And this idea stemmed from one of our patrons, Jeremy, responding to a question that I asked in a Patreon episode, which was, will Manny Diaz still be at Miami in 5 years? And so that just kind of triggered the idea for this episode. And so we're going to go through each of the Power 5 conferences. Well, first of all, I'll just say right now, there's obviously 64 Power 5 head coaches. 19 of them have been there for at least five years. So to make things simple for this exercise, we're going to assume that in 5 years, that number is still going to be 19. We just got to decide who are those 19 guys. And it could be the same guys, some of them that have, like Dabo Sweeney, obviously, will likely be someone that we choose. He's already been there for 5 years, but we would expect 5 more. So we're going to assume the ACC, Big Ten, Pac-12, and SEC each get 4 of these coaches. And then the Big 12, only 3 because they only have 10 teams. So let's go. Let's start with the ACC, Trey. Who's the most likely guy to still be there? Sorry to steal your thunder.
No. I mean, of course, it's the obvious one, the elephant in the room, Dabo. I have to take the obvious one here. I mean, we've discussed this before. Like, if he stays, he can be the guy, the legend at Clemson. There's no real reason for him to leave unless he absolutely feels the need to take his alma mater Alabama job when Saban hangs it up. But I just don't see it. I see him staying.
Agreed. Yeah, he's the clear number one, maybe the number one, just in the whole country, not just the ACC. Might be the most likely
number one.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so second choice here, I'm gonna say, even though he's a little bit older, I'm going Mac Brown. At North Carolina.
Have to.
I feel very confident he's not going to get fired just because the way he's recruiting and just the momentum that the program has right now. So the biggest threat is him retiring, and he's 68 years old, so that's definitely possible. But I think maybe he didn't come back to coaching just to be there for 3 or 4 years. So maybe 6 or 7 what it'll be.
Yeah, that would have been my second choice as well. And he's got Sam Howell for a couple more years, so he's going to have probably 2 at least decent years coming up. So, he's buying himself some time there. Okay, so this one makes it, I guess I'm going to go with Scott Satterfield as the number 3.
Yeah.
Even though he's not recruiting lights out, but he has obviously had a very good over exceeded the expectations for the first year at Louisville. And he was obviously really, really, really good at App State. He's just a really good coach. He's going to have another good year this coming year. So, should have 2 good years in a row. He's got a ton of talent coming back. But yeah, Satterfield seems kind of like the next guy. I was considering a couple guys at Bronco Mendenhall.
Wait a second.
We're still going. We're still going.
Oh, sorry. This is ACC. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, we still got a couple guys. I agree on Satterfield. I think the only thing in my eyes would be as if he actually took another job. I think he's because I agree with you, Ryan. I like him, and I think he's going to do well there. It's just that would be the only concern I'd have. All right. My third guy, this is tough.
No, this is the fourth guy, so this is the last.
Oh, that's right. See, we are botching this.
Yeah,
Ryan.
I'm screwing this up.
You screwed me up. No, I'm going to go with the last guy then.
And this is kind of a collaborative thing. So if you're not sure, Ryan and I can help out.
There's a lot of options actually, but I'm going to say Mike Norvell. He's the newest to the party, of course. It's obviously very tough when you're at a program like Florida State. You kind of got to win early and often. But I believe in him. I think he's going to get things turned around. I don't think it takes that much to turn it around. They have so much talent on the roster that I don't think they're that far from being relevant again. And FSU is a destination school, so even if he has success in his first few years, I don't see him going anywhere else.
Yeah,
that's kind of the way I went with there.
So I didn't even really consider Norvell just because. It's a job with very high expectations, and just in general, I kind of avoided first-year head coaches because you just don't know what to expect, and most of them don't make it 5 years. But it's a reasonable choice. I would have taken Dave Clawson.
That was who I was with. That was my other guy.
Yeah, because he's done a very good job there, so he's safe from getting fired, I would think, and. He hasn't been a huge name for higher profile jobs. Like, you don't hear his name thrown out there too much. So I just have more confidence that he'll be there.
Yeah,
Already
he's
been there
done
for
well at
years.
Wake.
Ryan, who are you considering?
For my like the fifth one. Oh yeah. No,
Or
those were
fourth?
those were all the guys. I said Bronco Mendenhall earlier, but he
Mhm.
would be there just because he turned around Virginia pretty well. So
Okay, so we're making these picks together. So Trey's fourth pick is reflecting on all of us. Ryan, are you okay with Mike Norvell? Or Trey, have I convinced you about Clausen? Or are we sticking with Norvell?
I would rather have Clausen, but
Wow. The thing about wow.
Are we going to veto Trey? Well, how are we going to do this? Are we going to have each person make their own pick, or are we kind of voting on the last one?
We can if we can go collaborative, that's fine for the fourth one.
I feel like I just
No,
big
let's
money
go.
stakes here.
We'll go collaborative for the fourth one. But hey, I believe in Norvell, but I think I just got outnumbered 2-1 on with Clausen, which it's fine. I do like Clausen. He's done great at Wake.
Okay. All right.
So no
well, I guess our four
Fuente.
then are Dabo
No Fuente.
Sweeney.
Yeah.
What's that, Ryan?
I'm just thinking of some other guys that maybe people would consider, like Fuente or Jeff Collins. Maybe people
Fuente,
think
Jeff
like-
Collins. I like.
Jeff Collins. Fuente flirted with Baylor this past year. There's already
Yeah, Fuente I would-
turmoil.
Yeah.
He's kind of on a hot seat and
Yep.
kind of a
Yeah.
Mendenhall is a good one too. He's
Diaz,
up there.
if you're gonna throw in Norvell,
Manny
maybe
Diaz, but
Diaz.
year one wasn't great on the field, so that
Yeah.
got him off the list for me.
Fair.
And Trey, you brought up Cutcliffe, I think, right? You said Cutcliffe.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, he was an option, but his contract is up.
He's getting up there.
Yeah, he's been coaching for a long time. I'll say that.
It's just like at what more can he I feel like he's just kind of almost running into a wall at Duke. I don't know. It's so tough there. I'm the biggest Cutcliffe guy there is, but it's just that I don't know how much more there is.
Okay. All right. So Dabo Sweeney, Mac Brown, Scott Satterfield, and Dave Clausen. Okay. Sorry,
Overruled.
Overruled. Hey, you guys can overrule me. We're about to get to the Big
Yeah.
12. I'm going to have the last pick here. Ryan, you've got the first choice.
Yeah, this one, I don't know. Maybe I'll surprise you guys with it. I'm gonna go Mike Gundy,
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
number one. I feel like he's
Okay.
just. I mean, he's 52 years old. He's even though he's been coaching for quite a long time, he's still relatively young. The only season he missed a bowl game was his very first year coaching, which was like I think 2005. So I mean, there's really no risk of him getting fired anytime soon. He's built up so much equity in that program. And I mean, should have another very good team this year. So just buy him even more years. So yeah, I just feel like he's the safest. He's been there the longest. He kind of is Oklahoma State football at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good safe pick.
Yeah, I had him second. I think he's flirted with other programs, but that constantly keeps happening, and yet he's always.
I think the
stayed at Oklahoma
flirtatious
State.
behavior is almost over.
Okay.
Well, and it just he uses it as leverage.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, I have two guys, and it's not easy. But I'm gonna say Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley can do whatever the heck he wants. He can stay there. It looks like for sure 5 years, but he could also go to the NFL. He's not going to take another college job. You know, his offense is going to keep them in the mix. The way that they're recruiting in the Big 12, like they're not going away anytime soon. Like there's no reason why this machine's going to really slow down enough for him to get the axe.
No.
I mean, even if Oklahoma fans are concerned that he goes to the playoff each year and still doesn't break through, it's like, what more really can he do with that? I mean, he's getting there. Their defense is turning around. So I'm going to say Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, NFL is the only real threat there. So I agree with that. This is tough. So we're only doing 3 coaches for the Big 12. I am split between 2 guys. So Matt Campbell of Iowa State and Gary Patterson of TCU. What do you guys? Were those 2 guys you guys would consider, or?
I was thinking K-State.
Yeah, Chris Kleiman. He's year 1 was good. Seems to be a good fit there. But I guess the reason I didn't have him is, it's only 1 year. He's still not totally proven as a head coach.
Yeah, I was considering Kleiman,
But if you had to go those two, I know Ryan likes Neil Brown. So
I do like Neil Brown.
Neil Brown, there's risk he could move on to a better
Neil
job.
Brown, I think
there's also risk there's also the potential risk he could get fired, even though I'm high on him. But.
And there's also, before we get to your decision too, Tom Herman is just constantly on the hot seat. It'd be tough to put money to say that he'd be there in 5 years.
He has a bad year this year. He's done. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Patterson and Campbell, those are great.
I'll make the case for both right now. So if we're going Campbell, it's, he says he wants to stay there and stay put. And obviously it's very, very difficult to see him getting fired. He's done such a great job there and doesn't look to be stopping anytime soon. And he's got a long-term contract extension. So he can be set there for a while, obviously, if he wants to be. For Gary Patterson, the case is he's been there forever. He's a legend there. He's built up so much equity that even though 3 of the last 4 seasons have been mediocre, he's going to have a very long leash. And he's only 59 years old, so maybe he'll decide to hang it up in the next 5 years, but I don't think that's a super high chance of that.
I'd leave Campbell between those two guys.
Okay, I think I'll lean Campbell too, actually, because it's going to take the perfect job like Ohio State or I don't know, maybe the NFL or something to pry him away. So I'll take Matt Campbell then.
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Cool.
Dave Aranda.
Right, so you're just naming
the Baylor wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Lincoln Riley, Mike Gundy, and Matt Campbell will still be around in 5 years, according to the Bros. Let's get to the Big Ten. This I thought was the toughest conference because there's like 7 guys you could pick. And in the first pick, I don't even know who to take. I guess I'll just go with James Franklin. He's obviously going to be one of our 4 here. He's doing a great job there, recruits really well. He's from Pennsylvania, so it makes sense. And there's not many jobs better than Penn State. So James Franklin.
Yep.
Okay, I'll take Ryan Day. Number 2. He's, I guess, the only risk for him is NFL as well. He's young and he has coached in the NFL, so maybe he'll have the desire to go back. But after only 1 year of being the head coach, I still think he'll have 5. Maybe he could still be there for 5 years before deciding to hop to the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Paul Chryst, Wisconsin.
He could have been the number 1 pick.
Yeah. I feel I'm pretty comfortable with him. They're just piling up wins. They're getting to Rose Bowls. They have a solid grasp on the West, in the West Division of the Big Ten. It's just so strong. Wisconsin is kind of like a well-oiled machine right now. They just keep humming, and you don't really see it slowing down, or at least not dramatically.
Recruiting's getting even better.
Yeah, so I don't see him taking another college gig. I guess I think he seems like he's pretty happy, pretty comfortable in Madison.
I don't see him being
maybe I'm wrong, but
really many other gigs.
Yeah, this is like the perfect job for him. His temperament and his style seems like this is the perfect school for him to be at. So,
and you saw what happened when Brett Bielema left to go, for more money. It didn't, of course, end up working out for him. So
ended up going for less money.
And even Paul Chryst, his prior job was at Pitt, and that didn't go super well. So yeah, I agree. I think he's set there.
Now,
and
Michael,
Barry Alvarez is going to have his back.
Now, Michael, I don't envy you on this 4th pick, because this is like there's literally, I could throw 5 in the ring and none of them are wrong.
I'm going to throw out a bunch of names then. So Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern, Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, Greg Schiano at Rutgers, PJ Fleck at Minnesota, Kirk Ferentz at Iowa, Scott Frost, Nebraska. I'll throw that in there. But he's not going to be the pick. I don't know, because
you got like Mel Tucker. He's a first year, but it's tough.
It's tough to take a first year guy.
Tom Allen. Had a bowl game.
Tom Allen, but
might have
just
another
one good year so far. I mean, I expect him to be good going forward, but I don't think he's going to be in the top 4 here.
If you can put together 2 good years in a row, which this year they're supposed to be solid, then that's buys you probably quite a bit of time in Indiana.
True.
Just saying, if that guy's so down on the list, then your list is pretty good. Like
exactly. So I'm between, I guess, Pat Fitzgerald and Jim Harbaugh. So Fitzgerald, he's got a very long leash given all that he's accomplished there. He's only 45 years old, so it's not like he's going to retire. Last year's 3-9 season was concerning. So I don't know. What am I worried about? He's going to get fired. I guess that's possible if he has a few bad years. There's also, if he turns it around and continues to win like he had been, I guess he could leave for a bigger job, but that would take quite a turnaround.
Yeah, seems unlikely.
I'm leaning towards Jim Harbaugh just because if he keeps winning 9 or 10 games, I don't think Michigan's going to look out there and see any better options. Yeah. And for Harbaugh, I don't think he's going to be, obviously not another big college job would go after him. And the NFL the ending didn't work out there. So I don't know. It just seems like, and it's his alma mater, I think he might be there for quite a long time. What do you guys think? So Jim Harbaugh, you okay with that pick? Or
if I had to put up anyone against him, Fitzgerald's good, but maybe him and Fleck. But I guess Fleck could leave.
I would put up Ferentz.
Really?
Ferentz?
This offseason hasn't been so good.
Well, I know.
Him.
I know. The offseason's been kind of rough, but they haven't fired him yet. Or anything about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Ferentz, you got the risk of retirement, and and because of the scandal,
but he's not that old. Yeah,
I think if I had to say, I'm more comfortable with Harbaugh.
Yeah, I'm good with Harbaugh. That's fine.
Good with Harbaugh.
By the way, we never even mentioned Braum, right?
Yeah, Jeff Braum. I like him too, and he turned down Louisville, right? So he's seems to be committed there, at least for a while.
I'd be interested to hear from like a Michigan fan on this, because I think, the outside world is just they haven't beat Ohio State, and so Jim Harbaugh sucks. But like, that's disappointing, but man, they're still pretty dang good. Like, who else are you going to get? Who else are you going to get at Michigan?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm got my blinders on because I like Harbaugh, but
I think there's probably factions on both sides in the Michigan fan base, but I think a lot of them would say, just from what I've, reading message boards, reading Reddit, it seems like a lot of them are saying, we'd like to be better, but like we said, who are we going to get that's better right now?
Yeah.
They're a couple plays away from being like
exactly.
Title
the narrative would be changed so much. But
they
didn't.
So the Big Ten, we chose James Franklin, Paul Chryst, Ryan Day, and Jim Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Pac-12. Trey, you've got the first pick here.
All right. I'm going to go Mario Cristobal, Oregon. They're just really, they've always kind of gotten some good talent, but now they're getting a lot of top talent. They just won the Rose Bowl. There's not really many schools in my eyes that could come open that he'd leave for. We mentioned on the last pod, maybe like in Alabama, but
or Miami, his alma mater.
That's true. I'm not saying it's impossible, of course, but there's not many out there, so it would take the perfect storm. And I just feel like Oregon and Cristobal are going to succeed in the next few years.
Yeah, that's a good pick, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I will gladly take Kyle Whittingham with the number 2 pick. He's been at Utah since 1994 in coaching capacity. He's been the head coach in 05, but 26 seasons, I guess he's been a coach there now. That is hard to go against. Took him a few years to adjust the Pac-12, but they've had at least 9 wins in 5 out of the last 6 years. So safe to say he's adjusted quite well. It's just hard to imagine them firing him within 5 years. Like, that ain't going to happen.
No.
And he's not going to go anywhere else. Like, he's been there so long. It
would be a big surprise. It would be a surprise like when Bronco Mendenhall left BYU. It would be kind of similar to that, but I wouldn't bet on it. Yeah.
And he's 60, so he's not he's not in the near range of where you would think he would retire.
Okay. Yeah, those are the clear top 2 picks. I'll say Herm Edwards for Arizona State. He has the program headed in the right direction. They're recruiting well. They've got a good young quarterback, Jaden Daniels. He's 65 years old, so retirement is a risk, but kind of like with Mac Brown, I don't know if you really come back to just be there for 3 or 4 years.
Seems like a workaholic type of guy. I think he could keep it going. He wants to work for a while. I don't know. It's a vibe.
All right.
Okay. Final pick, Trey.
I am between two guys, and I'm pretty comfortable that these would be the two guys. Well, okay. So I'm between Justin Wilcox and Jimmy Lake, actually. I'm actually going to go with Wilcox. He's made steady progress each year. They have a promising team heading into 2020. His defensive track record has really elevated Cal. Obviously, they've improved so much there, and I think the growth is going to continue. Cal isn't it isn't a program where the fan base would just run them out of town with one or even two bad years compared to some other schools out there where there's more immense pressure to win immediately. I'm going to take Wilcox here as my third, or as the fourth, I guess.
Fourth, yeah.
Who did you have, Ryan?
It was between Wilcox and Lake.
So I also consider. Sorry, I interrupted. What
No,
were
go
you
for
saying?
it. No,
I also considered Jonathan Smith. He's at his alma mater, had a good second year, but I still need him to prove more. David Shaw is a possibility.
Every year.
Built up a ton of equity there, and Stanford is not a pressure cooker, so he could survive a few down years, but I don't like the direction they're going. So I also would have gone with Justin Wilcox. I agree.
I guess I got outvoted. I would have gone with Lake, but
I think there's greater upside with Lake, but there's a lot.
Wilcox, I just feel like it could teeter the other way. He's not so far ahead of being successful. Like he's being successful-ish, but it's not like he's tearing it up yet.
I hear you. I almost think he's in kind of the perfect position here because he's gone 7-5 the last two regular seasons, which is kind of perfect to where he's comfortable at Cal. Like that's acceptable. That's solid. But he's also not done so well that it's like, ooh, I got to worry big time about him, taking a big job that's better than Cal. So he's kind of in that middle territory where he could stick around for a while. And I will say that, like Trey said, things are looking up. So,
and with Jimmy Lake, there's a little bit of a boomer bust. Like I think he's going to do well, but there's also the potential. This is his first.
A lot of talent
game
coming in for these.
There is no, and
UW
gets great talent, and he's great on the defensive side. But
he's also following Chris Peterson, so there's high expectations.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a hard time for them not to have 8 type win seasons there, considering how far ahead in the recruiting they are to a lot of the Pac-12 schools.
They should be. But there's pressure and. Yeah,
you got outvoted, Ryan. Give it up.
Tough call.
Tough scene.
All right, SEC time. Ryan, you have the first pick here.
It was tough. The first pick was tough. I'm kind of down to. I was kind of down to two guys. I'm gonna end up
down to two guys for sure. Maybe three.
Yeah, maybe three. Maybe. Yeah. Well, maybe four. It's like
all right. Well, let's just get to it then.
I'm gonna go with Eddie O.
Okay.
He won a national title. That's got to buy you quite a few years, and the recruiting is obviously insane. So they're not going to be bad. No way. I mean, they might fall off a little bit and drop to maybe against 7 or 8 win season, maybe, but they're not in danger of tanking with all the talent. So coming off national title,
and he's at his dream job. There's zero chance that he's leaving voluntarily, so that's good.
Well, that goes with pretty much everybody in this list.
Yeah, pretty much. The only risk is the Gene Chizik factor. If he has some sort of, Gene Chizik went 14-0 and 2 years later got fired. I mean, I don't see that happening, but that's the only risk.
Fair.
Yep.
It's my turn. Okay. Well, I'm taking Kirby Smart at Georgia. He's bringing in number 1 or near number 1 classes every year. He's won 13, 11, and 12 games the last 3 seasons. It's his alma mater. I don't see why he won't still be there.
That was the good pick there. All right, I'm going to go, I don't know if it's a surprise, but I'm going to go Dan Mullen.
That's the obvious next pick, I think.
Yeah, yep. He's 21 wins in his first 2 seasons, New Year's 6 wins, starting to look like it's going to be between Florida and Georgia for the SEC East. Tennessee's trying to nip them now, but he's kind of known as a quarterback whisperer. He's not going to take another college job that I foresee.
Yeah.
And I haven't, you don't really hear his name in the NFL circles. So I think Dan Mullen is a safe pick here.
Yep. That was my third as well. Okay, fourth for
Now
me.
it's tough.
This
Now
is
it's tough.
two guys, Saban, and Jimbo Fisher.
And Ryan, could you tell the listeners who don't know, where does Nick Saban coach?
Oh yeah, sorry, Alabama, and then Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M.
Oh, thank you so much.
Sorry. Yeah, those two guys. So the question is, do you have more faith in Saban staying there for coaching for 5 more years, or if Fisher's going to end up being successful at Texas A&M? I ultimately went with Saban. I think he does have 5 more years in him. He's 68 right now, so 73 is not something like unheard of. And he's not going to be pushed out or anything like that.
No.
So it's, I don't know. He's just killing it still. Their recruiting is off the charts again this year. So yeah. I think he can keep it going 5 more years.
I leaned towards Saban as well. What about you, Trey?
God, it's tough. I mean, at what point does he just get bored? I mean, not really bored, but the same thing over and over. But he's about the process. You watch some of those videos with him and Belichick, and like
he didn't win the national title this past year, so
yeah,
exactly.
He's got Clemson now to kind of aim at. That's something to shoot for, and Georgia as like a worthy foe from the East.
Absolutely.
And LSU, I guess.
Yeah, LSU.
Yeah. Right. No, and I agree, because I think it's similar to what we were talking about with Jimmy Lake. With Jimbo at A&M, there's some boomer bust. Like we're all pretty high on him, but he's had 2 years. It's not that far-fetched to where if they had 2 kind of average seasons, that the heat would be really on. So yeah, Saban's more a little bit safer probably.
Yeah, I think we probably thought more about Jimbo Fisher than most people would, because most people, the perception is like, he's had a mediocre start there. I think it's been good when you look at the advanced metrics, and he's got that big contract that runs through 2027. Right. So that's another factor here that is a tick in his favor. But yeah, I think Saban's a solid pick. Did you consider anybody else?
The Lane Train.
That's such a wild card. It's hard.
No, that is such a wild card. I wouldn't really put him
Mark
forward.
Stoops, maybe.
Mark Stoops,
because he's he's built up some equity for sure in that program, but not good enough maybe to go somewhere else.
But maybe he could go somewhere else if they continue this kind of climb up. He was a candidate for the FSU job, right? So
yeah, true. Yeah, he was. Good point.
Pruitt's having a very good off season, but it's tough to have. The bottom half. No, not that Tennessee's in the bottom half, but the bottom half of the SEC, it's really hard to keep your job for 5 years.
Yeah, Malzahn, but he's always too much.
Malzahn at Auburn. Yeah.
Auburn,
perennial hot seat.
Unjustly.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well, okay. Last question here. We'll touch on the G5 just briefly. If you had to name one coach who was most likely to still be at their position from the G5, who would it be?
To me, it came down to 4. Really 3, I guess, when I think hard. Brian Kelly at Notre Dame is a we discussed this before the podcast, but if we included independent, then sure. Well, in the outline, Michael, I follow the outline. It says
G5 did I say independent in the outline?
He says G5/Indy.
Oh, whoops. So I'm the idiot.
Independent. Moron.
Sorry.
So Brian Kelly would be hard to go against. What other guys are you thinking?
For me, it would kind of came down to 2, and I'm going to say mine, and then I'll let Michael see if he says it. I'm going to go Ken Niumatalolo at Navy. He's not going to take another FBS job. Well, I guess I shouldn't say
he almost took Arizona.
That's true. I guess I said that a little too confidently, but let's put it this way. I don't see him at this point taking one, and Navy likes him. He continues to do well there. They had a good bounce back season. I think Niumatalolo is going to be there.
Yeah, I didn't totally make a choice here because it was really difficult. He's maybe my choice. I also considered Sonny Dykes at SMU. He's only 50 years old and just kind of returned to there. It seems like he'll want to just kind of ride it out there. Troy Calhoun at Air Force.
Yeah,
it's his alma mater.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
He's only 53 years old. Brian Harson at Boise State, also his alma mater.
That was kind of my second one. That was
yeah.
my
The risk is leaving for a better job. That's really the only risk, but
yeah.
it's going to take the perfect situation.
Yeah, he might like the friendly Boise confines.
Mm-hmm. And then just a few more names: Craig Bull at Wyoming, Rick Stockstill at Middle Tennessee, and Doc Holliday at Marshall, or some other guys in the.
So
in the running.
guys, I mean, we're throwing a lot out there, but did you guys even think about Josh Heupel or Luke Fickell, or do you think they're on to the next one?
I mean, it's possible, but Luke Fickell especially seems like,
yeah.
I mean, it could happen, but he's just such a big candidate for any job that comes open that I didn't consider him. And I guess sort of the same with Heupel, though Fickell's a much better, I think, prospect.
Sure. Yep, I'm the same way. My pick will be Troy Calhoun.
That's pretty good.
He is Air Force. He's been there 13 years, and he's only missed 3 bowl games. And this past year, they finished in the top 25, I think, for the first time in his tenure. So, I mean, it's, between him and Ken Niumatalolo, there just was like, Niumatalolo's been there 12 years and missed 2 bowl games. So they're just like, and they're about the same age. Both at Service Academies, both run similar offense. So it's, how do you pick between those guys? I don't know.
And both kind of had bounce back years.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm between Niumatalolo and Brian Harson. I guess I'll go Niumatalolo. Because I think there's a better chance, at least, that Harson takes another gig.
Trey, that's who you took, right?
Just because I think that's more likely Harson takes another job than it is Niumatalolo.
I'm surprised you didn't more consider Troy Calhoun, Michael.
I totally do.
I think, I don't know, I'd have to look at Air Force's past records. I know Navy had a down year too, but it just feels like Navy's been more consistent than Air Force. Maybe that's not true. Maybe if I looked it up.
The last 13 years, missed 3 bowl games.
Okay. It's tough. Pretty I don't know. I mean, sure, Troy Calhoun. What do you want me to say, Ryan?
There's really no deciphering for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
Cool. All right. Well, how would you grade our performance that episode? Give me a grade.
I'd give Mila an F. I messed up on the anniversary date, I think, actually. I was
oh no.
Off. Yeah. It's we had an interesting 90-day fiance thing, so we are our 3rd year will be for the one in November.
Yeah.
So
nice. You don't have to apologize to me.
2-year summer when you were right.
Apologize to me. Apologize to your wife. Yeah.
And of course, all of our wives and fiancés are avid listeners, so they'll
I'm safe. I'm definitely not going to be able to get in trouble. She won't listen.
Well, I have a cell phone and I can text her. So
well, we're no longer brothers.
All right, so Ryan gets an F for himself. Trey, what would you grade yourself?
I'm a solid B+.
B+. Okay, I'll give myself a C because I talk too much. Classic problem.
Tough.
Classic Michael.
Cool. All right. Well, that'll do it for the College Football Bros podcast. If you like the show and you want more episodes, or you want to join our Discord chat, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. And we will talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the College Football Bros. If you have any questions for the next podcast, email them to collegefootballbros@gmail.com. To keep up with the brothers on social media, like them on Facebook at College Football Bros, follow them on Instagram at College Football Bros, and for their commentary on Saturdays, follow them on Twitter at CFB Bros. Thanks for listening.